Welcome back, you guys. As you see by the title, this is going to be a setup of a candy/dessert table for a baby shower whose theme was Enchanted Butterfly Garden. So I know we're jumping right into it, but let me give you a little backstory. I absolutely, positively, certainly knew I pressed the record button on my camera when I started putting up my backdrop and table. I knew I did, but I didn't, apparently. Okay, so I was blown, but I had to keep going. The reason why I knew I was not recording is because when I went over to get my phone to see my design that I had on my phone for this candy table, that is when I noticed that my screen on my camera was black and that it was not recording. So I was blown, but also I was thankful that I just so happened to place my phone over there by my camera, so that way I had to pick my phone up and I had to see that the camera was black. If I would have had my phone anywhere else, I would have thought I was recording and wouldn't have got anything. But I still got a good amount of stuff for you guys to see, and I hope you enjoy. So now that I got the backstory out the way and I touched on the sketching part, I'm going to start with that part. So for mostly everything that I do when it comes to my business, as far as cakes, candy tables, events, I try to sketch out everything. And when I tell y'all I am not the greatest at drawing, I don't care what it is, I'm going to try to sketch it out. So for candy tables especially, I sketch as well as I do a mock setup, okay? So on my phone, I had a picture of the sketch, and then a few days prior to the actual setup, I did a mock run, a mock setup of my table in my home. So those were both on my phone. I'll insert both of them so that you guys can see it. I stepped off camera because I needed to go fill my vases with water, but I wanted to say when it comes to sketches as well as mock setups, they are just guidelines. They are not the final blueprint of how the table is going to be. The sketching and the mock setup really give me an idea of how I want to set the table up first and foremost, the things that I still need, and some things that I might want to take away. But it is no way, shape, or form the final blueprint. And I say it's not the final blueprint because I know there have been maybe one or two clients that have asked to see my sketch before, and I have no problem sending it to them. But you have to understand, one, I'm not the greatest at drawing, like I said, and two, you're not going to see what I see as well. Like I said, it's not the final blueprint. So some of the things that's on the table in my sketch may not be in that same place at your setup, and I might add some things and I might take away some things. And the glass vases with water was one of them. I like to use those to act as weights depending on the certain type of risers, which in this case was wood crates that I'm using. So after everything is in place, that's when I'm going to go in and fill my candy jars. I kind of have an order of how I like to do things now that I've done it for so long. And I like to do the candy jars first and leave the cake to the middle and then the treats towards the end, because I want the cake and the treats to stay as cool as possible depending on what time the event starts. I don't want to put the treats and the cake out first and then it gets warm before the event starts. Side note, my hands are sanitized. If you see me throughout this video shaking my hands, is because I stepped off screen and I used a sandy wipe, okay? So just wanted to throw that in there. You're going to see that I continuously refer to my phone even towards the end to look at my sketch and mock setup, because it jogs my memory of things that I might still need on my table. I have to put my scoops in my candy jars immediately after I put my candy in, and once I do that, I like to pull out the labels for the jars as well as the trays for the treats. I do so because those two items are very small but very significant, and they can get lost. As soon as I start opening my treats and plastic and boxes get thrown everywhere, those two items, the scoops as well as the labels, can get lost easily, and they can really throw off your candy table. So what y'all about to see, I don't recommend to anyone. I don't even recommend to myself, but I had to get it done. When you are doing a candy table, you want to make sure that your backdrop is completely done before setting up your candy table, because you can risk a lot. You can risk you pushing your backdrop over trying to fix your backdrop. You can risk you falling over. You can risk knocking over stuff, smashing treats if you put all your treats up, breaking jars with candy in it. Now you have to replace the candy as well as find another jar if you did not bring any extra. You could just risk a lot. So I definitely recommend, if you're going to do a backdrop, just make sure you fully complete your backdrop before you set up your candy table. But in this case, I had to do what I had to do, and like I said, it was a perk of being tall. I really wanted to get these butterflies on there because it really brought out the backdrop as well as the table as a whole. So as you see, I'm starting to put the banana pudding cups out, so that is the indication that we are approaching that start time for the event. One thing I like to do, especially if I'm doing the setup, I like to freeze my pudding cups the night prior, okay? Because pudding can go bad very easily depending on the temperature of the room. So when you freeze it, you then allow the room temperature to slightly thaw it out, so that way it will be the perfect temperature about time it's ready for it to get served. When it comes to full candy table setups like this, especially with tiered cakes, I think the cake traveling as well as placing it up on its stand is the most nerve-wracking. When you're traveling in a car full of decorations and containers that can slide and knock this damn cake over, your heart drops when you hit your brake to stop. As well as when you're placing your cake on its stand and it leans a little bit and you just think the worst. Oh my gosh. But I always seem to get it done, and I'm grateful and I'm thankful. But when I tell you, I think that is the most nerve-wracking part of this setup. It's just the most nerve-wracking part. So now that the cake is up there, now I'm just going in and placing all the other treats. I still had cake pops to put out, which is what I'm doing now, and that went in front of the cake, so I didn't want to put those out before I put the cake down, because that would have been another obstacle that I had to conquer, to put that cake down. And then cake pops are really fragile, and if you hit one of them or lean on one of them, they can smash easily, so I didn't want to do that. And then I believe the next is going to be my cupcakes as well as my chocolate covered strawberries. So she was really particular of what kind of cupcakes she wanted, and the cupcakes she wanted was our floral junk cupcakes, and they are so pretty and they are also so delicious. But they are topped with flowers and strawberries and different candies, and they just look so cute. They look cute by themselves, but it also really did pull the look together for this table and just the garden theme. I also threw some butterflies on and around it to really bring it out. And last but not least were the strawberries. The strawberries were very simple. I went with simplicity with the strawberries. They were just a tan color with a tan drizzle, because I was already doing a lot with the candy table. I didn't want to do too much with the strawberries and throw it off. So I think it still looked amazing. It went still with the theme and the color scheme, and everything really played its part and came together. Now that everything is done, I'm just going through and placing my cupcake labels that I had sitting on the table there, because they were different flavors, so I had to make sure that they were labeled correctly. And then I'm going to go and get my treat bags out. I use mini craft bags from Hobby Lobby, and I would not recommend them. I'm going to post which ones I got, but I just don't. The quality was piss poor. I had a lot of them ripped, They were cute. They were ideal for what I wanted to use them for, but it was not worth my coins, okay? Luckily, it's just something in me that I had extra anyway. I had purchased extra, so it didn't affect the guest count and how many bags were used, but they were just ripping. They were busting at the seams. Excuse me, not even ripping. They were coming apart at the seams. Like, they just wasn't glued correctly. Like, the slightest trying to open them ripped the majority of them. And it really was, I'm not gonna lie, pissing me off. So I will post them. If you're thinking about using them, I'm sorry, go through someone else. Definitely do not get this size. I'm gonna say this size from Hobby Lobby. Yeah, they were cute. They did what it needed to do because I purchased more than enough, but they shouldn't have came apart so easily. I wasted a lot of them. So after adding a few more butterflies, that was it for me. That was it for the setup. I just took all my containers in my cart and placed it behind the candy table because I knew I was staying for this event, so there was no need to try to shove all my containers and everything back into my car, as well as you couldn't see behind the cake table, as well as guests wouldn't be behind the table. So it worked out perfect. So this is the time where I'm just going to flick it up, take my pictures, and as I'm taking my pictures, this is usually when I see some imperfections, and right now I'm fixing the backdrop. And then as I get closer and I take my video, I see that the cake pops was kind of throwing me off a little bit, so I kind of shift them over, and then I continue to flick it up some more. The videographer came over and took his video, as well as the photographer came over and took his photos, and I can't wait to see the final results of that. But that is it. I'm going to show you my video of how it came out. I hope you guys liked and enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please let me know that you see me, you hear me, you feel me, and all the above. Thank you.